Blood drips onto the canvas, a crimson stain spreading under the glare of floodlights on the White House South Lawn. The roar of 20,000 spectators echoes through Washington, D.C., as the octagon stands defiant, framed by the iconic pillars of the president's residence and the Washington Monument piercing the twilight sky. It's July 4, 2026, America's 250th birthday, and the UFC, the world's most ferocious fight promotion, is about to make history in the heart of the nation's capital. Dana White, the brash visionary who turned a dying sport into a global juggernaut, stands at the edge of the cage, his voice cutting through the chaos. This is absolutely going to happen. A cage fight at the White House, a celebration of American grit, power, and unrelenting ambition. 25 years ago, this moment would have been unthinkable. In 2001, the UFC was on life support, bought for $2 million by the Fertitta brothers, Lorenzo and Frank, who handed the keys to a scrappy Boston gym owner named Dana White. Mixed martial arts was a pariah, banned in most states, labeled barbaric by politicians like John McCain, who called it human cockfighting. White, fueled by relentless hustle, saw something others didn't, a sport that could capture raw human conflict like nothing else. He pushed for regulation, working with athletic commissions to establish the unified rules of MMA, weight classes, timed rounds, gloves, and banned moves like headbutts. The early days were brutal. Venues refused bookings, sponsors stayed away, and fighters earned pennies for their pain. By 2005, the UFC was teetering on bankruptcy until the Ultimate Fighter reality show changed everything. That iconic finale where Forrest Griffin and Stepan Bonner slugged it out in a bloody, heart-stopping war drew 6 million viewers and put MMA on the map. It wasn't just a fight, it was a cultural earthquake. White built a roster of legends. Randy Couture, the wrestler who defied age to win titles at heavyweight and light heavyweight. Chuck Liddell, whose mohawk and knockout fists made him a poster boy. Georges St. Pierre, the Canadian phenom whose technical mastery redefined welterweight. Controversies came. Doping scandals rocked the sport, like when Jon Jones tested positive in 2016, or when weight-cutting mishaps sent fighters to the hospital. Rival promotions like Pride FC collapsed, letting UFC scoop up stars like Quinton Rampage Jackson and Wanderlei Silva, whose axe murderer style thrilled Japanese crowds. The 2011 Fox deal brought fight nights to network TV, exposing MMA to casual fans. Then, in 2016, White orchestrated a $4 billion sale to WME-IMG, now TKO Group, cementing UFC's dominance. The 2019 ESPN deal, worth $1.5 billion over 5 years, made every event accessible, with pay-per-views pulling in millions. Think Conor McGregor versus Khabib Nurmagomedov in 2018, a record 2.4 million buys. Each milestone was a fight won, each deal a knockout blow to doubters. Now, in 2025, White's eyeing the next frontier. Days ago, White dropped a bombshell that shook the fight world. The UFC inked a 7-year, $7.7 billion deal with Paramount, averaging $1.1 billion annually, doubling the ESPN contract's yearly value of $550 million. Starting in 2026, every UFC event, fight nights, numbered cards, prelims, main events, will stream on Paramount+, with select blockbusters simulcast on CBS. This came hot on the heels of Paramount's $8 billion merger with Skygance, led by David Ellison, a CEO White calls a brilliant businessman, aggressive, a risk-taker. "These are my kind of guys," White said, his grin practically audible. For fans, it's a revolution. No more juggling ESPN Plus, UFC Fight Pass, and PPV fees that could hit $80 for a single card. Paramount Plus, priced between $8 and $13 a month, will house it all. Every jab, every submission, plus a vault of archival fights that White says kill it in repeat views. Think back to classics like Anderson Silva's front kick KO of Vitor Belfort in 2011, or Ronda Rousey's 14-second armbar of Kat Zingano in 2015. Those moments will live forever on Paramount servers. Paramount's eyeing global markets too, with plans to snag international rights as they open up. But this deal isn't just about accessibility. It's about redefining the sport's place in the world. White's not stopping at MMA supremacy. He's gunning for the NFL, NBA, global soccer. He said, "We're coming for all of them and then replace them." Fighter pay, a perennial sore spot, is front and center. Critics point out UFC fighters earn roughly 15 to 20% of revenue, far below the NBA's 50%. Some contracts tie bonuses to PPV buys, a model fading as streaming takes over. White's adamant the Paramount deal will change things. It will affect fighter pay, big time, he declared. From deal to deal, fighter pay has grown. Every time we win, everybody wins. Boxer Jake Paul, never shy, chimed in on X, "Every fighter in the UFC now has a clear picture of what the revenue is. No more PPV excuses. Get your worth, boys and girls." His words lit up the community, with fans and fighters debating online. One X-user posted, "Fighters deserve more, but Dana's right. PPV drives big bonuses." Another countered, "Streaming's transparency will force UFC to pay up." White pushed back hard. "PPV is not dead," pointing to remaining ESPN PPVs in 2025 and his new Saudi-backed boxing venture with Canelo Alvarez versus Terence Crawford on Netflix in September. Media reactions are split. ESPN called it a win for fans, while Bleacher Report warned streaming could dilute the star-making hype of PPV. The shift raises questions about shows like The Ultimate Fighter, which launched stars like Nate Diaz, and Dana White's Contender series, where Sean O'Malley earned his shot. White said they're working on new homes for these programs, hinting at more deals to come. If you're as fired up as we are about UFC's bold new chapter, hit that subscribe button for MMA Arena. We dig deep into the fighters, the stories, the moments that make this sport electric. The White House card is the crown jewel of this new era. Scheduled for July 4, 2026, it coincides with America's 250th anniversary of independence. Trump, a UFC fan since the early days, pitched the idea last month. 20,000 fans, the South Lawn, history in the making. White's meeting Trump and Ivanka on August 28th to sort out the details. Security, staging, everything. "Think about it," White told the Associated Press. "The 250th birthday of the United States. UFC on the White House South Lawn, live on CBS. It's a one-of-one event," White says, "a spectacle unlike any other. The challenges are immense. Secret Service background checks for every attendee. Fighters, coaches, media, fans. No tickets for sale, it's all comps, making this the most exclusive UFC night ever. The production will top UFC 306 at the Sphere, a $20 million Emmy-winning extravaganza with immersive screens. We're going to blow the doors off," White vowed on a podcast. Imagine it, fireworks exploding mid-fight, Sweet Caroline blaring, and the octagon framed by the White House glowing white and the Washington Monument standing tall. The crowd, senators, celebrities, and diehards in Just Bleed shirts will roar as fighters walk out under a star-spangled sky. Fans on X are electric. "UFC at the White House is the most American thing ever." Another grumbled, "This turns sacred ground into a fight pit." Media's divided too. Some praise the patriotic audacity,
Others call it a publicity stunt. But the fighters, they're ready to make history. White's bond with Trump fuels this dream. Back when UFC was a pariah, Trump hosted events like UFC 30 at his Taj Mahal in Atlantic City in 2001. He gave us our start when nobody would talk to us, White said in 2018. White's loyalty runs deep. He spoke at the 2016 and 2024 RNCs, calling Trump the toughest, most resilient human being I've ever met. Trump's a cage-side staple, often mobbed by fans, and his communications director, Stephen Chong, is a former UFC spokesperson. This event is more than a fight card. It's a nod to a decades-long friendship and a celebration of American tenacity. The card itself? White calls it loaded, but the main event is still hush-hush. Conor McGregor's name is swirling. The Notorious won a former